Hi, this is Devin at Goodhertz, and I'm going to talk about version 3.13, an update to all of our plugins at Goodhertz. Version 3.13 has two new plugins, Wolf Compressor Mastering Edition, which you can see right here, and VCME Soft Clip, which is based on this soft clip section, but it's its own standalone plugin with expanded controls. Let's check out VCME first. Here's the dry. You can see it's got some nice attack. Hear the room a little bit more, but still nice and punchy. Even more punchy with slow release. Let's do fast release. Almost gated sounding. Ooh, yeah. You can see this meter here. You can see it when it goes beyond this window, but if you want to change the values, just click here and it goes all the way up to, I guess this is 80 dB of compression, which is a lot. So if you know our Wolf compressor plugin, this might be kind of a familiar sound, but I hope you can see how much more precision this has and control for situations where you want to really be able to dial in exactly what the compression is doing. It also has a very extensive sidechain EQ where you can really customize exactly what's happening, exactly how the compressor is hitting. Perfect for mastering, which is why it's the mastering edition. I'll just play what Wolf compressor would sound like on this loop just to contrast that. You can tell they share DNA, but they're pretty different. We've been getting a lot of questions. If I own one, do I need the other? The answer is you don't need anything, but if you want what both of these do, it's quite different. Wolf compressor has a wow and flutter section, a lo-fi section. The compressor is really just one control, and even at 0 in Wolf compressor, all these at 0, this still has a frequency curve. It's still doing stuff. It's still compressing. You can't do things like a 1-to-1 ratio, or if you want to do like subtle glue, that's hard to do in Wolf compressor without really pulling this back. So yeah, they're just different beasts. Let's talk about the soft clipper next. So when we were beta testing VCME, we kept using this soft clipper section just by itself with no compression. And, we did that enough times that we thought, well, this could just be its own plugin. And it's free. If you own Wolf Compressor Mastering Edition, you just get a separate plugin here. And the cool thing is that we kind of kept this side chain, except here it's turned into an emphasis section. If we check out this Rhodes here, you'll see like if I change something in here, you're not going to hear it do anything because, well, you're not going to hear it do like a normal EQ sound. Because it's applying that EQ as an emphasis for the saturation. So to hear what it's doing, we really have to drive the saturation a little bit. So I'll do that. Let's say I just want the saturation to respond to the low frequencies of this Rhodes. Great way to do that would be just cut all the highs and we'll move it down. I'll play back while we listen to that. You can see how you can really contour how the saturation is working. Get, a lot of different analog sounds out of it by changing this emphasis. It also has a tilt built in, so you really have a lot of control. And if you want to really hear some of the stuff it can do, check out these more extreme, colorful saturation presets. It's got 4 different analog saturation modes that are all based on different mastering gear, different mastering chains. The first 2 are kind of Tupe. This is more of a transformer one, and this is more of a transformer plus transistor sound. The limiter is based on famous mastering A to D converters that have a soft clipping built in, and we took that and kind of put our own spin on it. So it's different, especially with this slew control. You can really get a lot out of it. It would be good to listen to that. I guess let's play the whole track and do it on the master here. Okay, so this is kind of like a mastering compressor setup. And I'll turn off this saturation. Maybe I'll add the Rhodes. And if you look at this curve here, this is a input-output transfer function curve. You can see it bending over at the top. You can see that soft clipping start to happen. Yeah, and hopefully you can hear what that slew does. The transients are much harder at slew 0, which is the fastest. And then as you get above 100, this starts kind of feeling more like a normal mastering limiter where your transients might get caught quickly, but then you have a slower release or kind of a slower let up on the limiter. There's no actual release in the way this limiter is working, but it's kind of similar conceptually. In CanOpener, our headphone listening plugin, we had seen for years that people have been using CanOpener with one of our Midside plugins, Midside or Midside Matrix, mainly just to adjust the mid and side gains. If you don't know what Midside is, there's probably a lot of good YouTube explainers. But yeah, so now they're just built into CanOpener and you can adjust them separately. So we'll listen to what those sound like. So that makes it easy to adjust your stereo field before things hit the crossfeed algorithm. You can also monitor the mid and side using this kind of monitoring section in CanOpener. You can monitor the mono mid section by just clicking this. And then if you flip the polarity, which flips the polarity of just one channel, you'll be getting the sides, but some in the section, mid section. Some to mono. Yes, sort of. Okay, so that's that. Next thing I wanted to talk about is a feature request we got from a user, Stefan Wunderlich, which was a great idea to add the ability to enter tempo-based note information into any time control. And so this is like any Goodhertz plugin now you can do this on. Yeah, any control that is like a milliseconds or a seconds control, you can, instead of just typing, 20 milliseconds, you can type like 1/16, which will be a 16th note at your current DAW session tempo. So if we wanted to just make this into like a slapback delay on the Rhodes, so this should be a 16th then. Sounds right to me. Let's try a 30-second. That sounds cool. Let's do, you can also type like dotted or triplets. Funky. Another thing we did in 3.13 is that now each section in Midside has its own bypass parameter. So if you're trying to quickly A/B what something's doing, like this boost here, you can quickly do that without having to A/B the entire plugin. Great for mastering. So let's see if we can hear this. I'll do like an extreme boost here. Yeah, hopefully that's obvious. Another new feature that all the plugins have now are these I/O gains in the advanced pane. And this was suggested by our friend Phil Weinrobe, just as another way to change gain staging in between plugins without having to add a trim or something else. And sometimes they feel a little redundant, like this is the input output gain here, and we already have, kind of input output gains in this plugin, but it can be really handy. Like if you've already automated this and you just need to do a revision where you need to knock it down a couple dB, or you're clipping the next plugin in the chain and you just want to pull it down, this makes it a lot easier. It's kind of like if you know the volume trims in Pro Tools, it kind of functions that way. So now, yeah, every plugin should have these. Last thing I wanted to talk about is, how would you describe it? Techie, kind of in the weeds, I guess, but it's cool nonetheless, and it was a great suggestion from a user. And it's for our Tupe plugin. A user was noticing that these EQs, when you switch between HQ and non-HQ mode, there would be some small differences, especially closer you get to like 20 kilohertz, which is a common thing that happens, like frequency cramping or phase cramping. And it's sort of the point of HQ mode. But we wanted to see if we could fix that. And so just have the EQ be the same regardless, or sound as close as possible, regardless of using HQ mode or not. And that was really challenging with trying to keep the latency 0 for non-HQ mode, which was important to us so you can play live into Tupe. You can use it in situations where you need low latency. And we did it. So I'll show you what that looks like. Gonna do just some white noise. Here's what that sounds like. And I'll turn that off. So let's unbypass Tupe, and you can see that filter cut. Let's just look at you can even see what the tape is doing. All right, back to the filter. So you can see our filter cut here. I've got a multi-mono instance of Tupe up here, and I'm showing both the left and right channels in this spectrum. And so now if I unlink these and turn on HQ mode, you can see the response is the same all the way up to like 21 kilohertz, which is exactly what we're going for. So in the audible range, these are identical. And this is the same if you do something like this. Let's relink them. And unlink, turn off HQ. You can see, again, they're like identical up until 21 kilohertz. So that's cool. It's a cool feature that this plugin has now, and we're going to try and roll this into some of our other plugins that would also benefit from it, where the HQ mode is kind of the best sounding version of the EQ, but we're going to try and make the non-HQ stuff as close as we can to that. Cool. I think that's it for 3.13. Maybe should we just listen to some of the stuff in this session? This is a cool DC-19 setting. It's just a mono clav, but kind of using the ping pong to make it a little more stereo. This is cool. This is using the gate in Megaverb, but for both the dry and the wet. So this is like it's a pretty noisy room. Yeah, I hear how loud the room is. Yeah, don't sleep on the gate in Megaverb. See ya.